The Las Vegas Raiders went into the 2025 NFL Draft with a serious need at cornerback opposite of Jacorian Bennett. They addressed this in the third round by adding Iowa State's Darian Porter, who, if you guys are interested in, you can find a link to our scouting report and film breakdown in the description. But this video isn't about Darian Porter. This one is about Mello Dotson, cornerback from Kansas who signed with the Raiders as an undrafted free agent after the draft was over. Welcome to Ramble Film Room with AlexMonfreda. For those of you who are new here, this is a series where I go over Raiders players' film, give the scouting report, I give the pros and cons, I give the film Raider Nation needs to see and the information Raider Nation needs to know. As always, don't worry about the film being played in the background right now. It's just filler to keep things interesting. We will go back to it, we will revisit it, and we will break it down. But for now, really, just don't worry about it. So I'm going to start with the stats here for Mello Dotson, and his stats are pretty interesting. Let me first say I was surprised that Dotson did not get drafted. His film was plenty draftable, I thought, before the draft, and I went back and watched it after the draft, and it still seemed pretty draftable. But I am going to get into the stats first. So this past season in 2024, Dotson allowed a 56.7% completion percentage. He had 5 interceptions with 7 additional pass breakups. He did allow 4 touchdowns. This gave him a 69.1 QB rating when targeted. Now this is the really interesting part. Throughout his career at Kansas, he had 12 interceptions and 4 of them were pick sixes. This is a pro that we'll talk about later, and there's a reason. It's not just coincidence. And the one thing that I do find interesting here is Dotson was PFF's 126th ranked player, just in general, not cornerbacks, just in general, on PFF's big board, their final big board about 5 days before the first round of the draft kicked off, and Dotson went undrafted. Now, I am going to get into the pros and cons, and as I said earlier, the film to me was plenty draftable. Don't take my word for it. I'll let you guys see for yourself. This is where I'm going to start rolling out the film. I will highlight Mello Dotson on every play so it's easy to follow along, and with that being said, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm doing is running back the play you just got done watching, and it's not for no reason. It's to highlight how disciplined Mello Dotson is in zone. As you can see, he just sticks in his zone, stays with his men in the area, whoever crosses in the area, and fluid mover while he does it too, but he's just very disciplined. He doesn't try to do too much. He doesn't get his team in a bad position by trying to do too much, and that's a quality that you love to see from cornerbacks. In man coverage, Dotson typically does a good job of staying step for step with his man. Now, Dotson does run a 4.59 40, and that is a concerning number. We'll talk more about that later, but for the most part, despite that, Dotson does do a pretty good job running step for step. Now, part of the reason why Dotson is able to stay on his man most of the time, despite the 4.59 40, is because he really does move pretty well. And the other reason why is because he loves to get physical. You can see most of these are in press. You can see that he makes contact with his receiver a lot on most of these reps, and it's fine. Dotson just eats the contact. There are plays where it seems like Dotson enjoys the contact, and he does like to get physical. We'll see more of this as the film goes on. As we get into more categories and whatnot, you will see this show up again, the physicality, and it is something that defines Dotson's game. For those of Raider Nation with the keen eye, you may have noticed on the last 2 plays, that guy that he's doing all that hand fighting with, that's his now teammate Jack Besh. Now, we will be dropping a video on the matchup that these two had together, and they had a day. Oh, it was a competition. It was a dogfight between these two, because these guys are guys who both are trying to enforce their will physically on their opposition, and it's just a dogfight. We will be dropping a video, like I said, on that, but for now, back to Dotson alone. So the next pro I wanted to talk about with Dotson is his ability to close windows quickly, and you will see an example of that on screen right now, and a few others after this. So when Dotson is running stride for stride with the guy, he normally is the slower guy. He does run a 4.59, and his game film supports that in every way, but he does have a wingspan that puts him in the 81st percentile, and he uses this to his advantage. You will see on a lot of these plays, what happens is he's running stride for stride with his guy, or he's sitting in zone, whatever it is, and there is a moment of an opportunity for a quarterback to get a ball in a window, and then bam, that window closes as soon as the quarterback looks his way, and he is very good at closing this window. Now, do not confuse this with recovery, because recovery is when you get beat and you have to readjust. This is not readjusting. This is just, you didn't have to readjust at all. It's just closing the window, and that is something he does very well. I am going to commit basically film watcher sin here and recommend you watch a Mello Dotson highlight video for this next pro, because there really won't be too many of it in this video, but you do need to see it. I did show one on screen right here, and you did see the other interception before. But one of his bigger pros is his ball skills. He had 12 interceptions during his career at Kansas. He had 5 this past season. And here's the crazier part of his 12 career interceptions. 4 of them are pick sixes. So if he picks off the ball, 33% of the time he's taking it to the house. So that's ball skills on full display. That is shiftiness, playmaker ability on full display. Needless to say, these are big pros. Really, they're right at the top of the list of things that make a defender a difference maker. So I want you to do 2 things. 1, go watch the Mello Dotson highlight video. You'll see all the ball skills. And 2, never tell anybody I told you to watch a highlight video, please. And with that being said, this is going to lead us directly into our final pro, and that is going to be his willingness, his ability, his physicality, all these things, and his adept ability to get involved in run plays, shed blocks. It really is a rarity for a cornerback to be adept at shedding blocks, and this really is a pro for him. He is a good block shedder, and it is on full display time and time again on the film. Now, it is going to directly lead us into our cons, and our first con being I would like to see Dotson be more effective when it comes to tackling in the run game, specifically on the plays where he does a great job at shedding blocks and finds himself in the backfield, which is pretty often. And as you can see, Dotson does oftentimes get a hand on the ball carrier when he does get into the backfield. So if he can increase the tackling efficiency on these plays, this can quickly turn into a pro. He is that good at block shedding and just getting into the backfield on rundowns. We are, however, going to continue talking about the cons, and the next one is a big one. It is the recovery abilities or lack thereof. Earlier, I made sure to stress the difference between recovery abilities and closing the window, because closing the window is something that Dotson does very well. Now, the recovery abilities / recovery time, it's not really there with Dotson, and that's in large part to the 4.59 that he runs, and the game film really showing that on full display. And in that regard, you will see Dotson's kryptonite is comeback routes and things of that nature where the receiver makes sharp cuts or stop and go really quick to create separation. These are things that Dotson struggles to keep up with. Now, this next con I did not notice much of at all in his 2024 tape. There was one example of it, and I am showing that on screen right now for you. But other than that, I didn't really notice too much. This does stem from his 2023 tape, which admittedly I did not go back and watch much of, but I did read in 2023 on multiple occasions, it almost seemed to be a theme. He gave up a touchdown on what seemed to be just a lapse in focus. And again, I did not notice that much in 2024, except for this one play that I did show, and other than that, did not seem to be a concern. Now, this is going to take us into the final con in Dotson's game that is the biggest con in his game by a lot. And that is going to be that 4.59 40 time, something that I touched on throughout various parts of this video, and it's led us into other cons in his game that stem from that 40 time. And more important than the 40 time itself is the fact that if you watch his game film, you can predict that he runs that. You can predict the 4.59 40 just by watching the game film. And that is a major concern, and if I had to guess, it is more than likely the number one reason why he went undrafted. And that's going to do it for the cons. And while that 4.59 40 is a big deal, more importantly that the game film matches that time, I gotta say I am very surprised that this kid did not hear his name be called on draft day. I mean, the pros just so far outweigh the cons in my book, and he's very instinctual, and even though he isn't the quickest guy in the world, that is okay, because I'm going to take it to a guy like AJ Boye. AJ Boye was a guy who's 6 foot tall, just like Mello Dotson. He weighed 192, 191. Dotson weighs 190, so there you go. And just like Boye, Dotson is a very physical guy, and Boye is a guy who we were talking about as a top 10 cornerback in the league for some time. And with the Jaguars, he was splitting time with Jalen Ramsey, guarding other teams' wide receiver ones, and having success. There was a time in 2000, I believe it was the 2018 player rankings, the top 100. He came in at number 35, so there you have it. Speed is not the end-all, be-all with cornerbacks. You can be on the slower side and still succeed, so long as you have the instincts and you have other pros to support it, just like Dotson does. And that leads me into my final statement that I do believe that based on Dotson's film, his pros, what he brings to the table, and part of that, and the other part being the Raiders cornerback room right now, that it does need help. I do believe that Dotson's going to make the Raiders team the final 53-man. Of course, preseason and camp has to happen, and he is going to have to earn it through that, but I do believe that he is going to do it. So with all that being said, that is going to do it for this one, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. It took a long time to make. On top of the final product being over 10 minutes long, I actually had to redo this one. I had to go through all the clips again because the first file, there was something wrong with it, and I had to get this film up because this kid, he is a baller, and I really wanted to let Raider Nation know what they have in him. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. And if you did, just show some love by dropping a follow on X. It's just my name, at AlexMonfreda, at AlexMonfreda. And make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube at Ramble Digital Media. There are going to be more videos like this on numerous Raiders players, including most of the 2025 NFL Draft, specifically the guys that the Raiders selected, of course, including undrafted free agents like Mello Dotson, and just stay posted for those. Until next time, guys.